President Obama will be in New York later this week to deliver the keynote address at the NAACP's 100th anniversary celebration. The group's president, Benjamin Jealous, tells us it will be a historic event to have the nation's first black president address the nation's first civil rights group.
Having a black man in the White House, winning, finally ending this 233-year-old color barrier on the White House is tremendous, and it is the result of 50 years of pushing.
We're joined now by the Reverend Al Sharpton, president of the National Action Network. Reverend, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning.
Let me ask you, a lot of people are saying, what is the mission now of the NAACP? And answer that question. If there's now the first black president, what does the NAACP, what should it do? Is the struggle for civil rights over?
Not at all. I mean, I keynoted their opening this morning, and what I said to them, I say to you, is that the struggle was for equality, not just having people in high positions. I think it's a tremendous achievement for the country and black America that President Obama's there, but we still are unequal when it comes to the economy. Blacks have a higher unemployment rate than whites. We're still unequal in health care and education across the board. Until we close the race gap and life in America for blacks are the same as it is for whites and others, we have not achieved civil rights yet.
You know, Reverend, you talk about that divide. I mean, the numbers are staggering when you look at the unemployment numbers. 14.7% of blacks are unemployed compared to 8.7% of whites. Do you believe that President Obama is doing enough to talk about the divide that still exists?
I think that President Obama is doing enough to deal with the divide. And I think sometimes in doing what you need to do, he knows that there are those of us that are going to talk about it. He, I think, has said enough about it, but he is not a civil rights leader. He's the President of the United States. I think it's the job of advocates, whether it's in labor, whether it's in civil rights, whether it's in any other area, to do the talking, to try and set the climate for people to do the doing. And I think that is what the President has so far tried to do.
You know, Reverend, I want to get your take certainly on what's happened in Pennsylvania, this allegation that a group of black school children were turned away from a largely white pool. I mean, it broke my heart. It shocked me when I heard about this story and potential racist remarks made by other people at that pool. What's your take on that?
I mean, it was stunning and troubling, and we have a chapter of National Action Network down in the area that's looking into this. But I think what troubled me more than anything is these are children, these are kids.
Right.
And the potential psychic damage of those kids hearing someone saying they could pollute the water or change the color of the water, to grow up with that is what is most troubling to me. And I think that we, have to be fair and make sure that we understand it was, in fact, racially motivated, as all appearances say it is, and then deal with it. But I think that beyond the regular suspects, as one says, of people like me coming in that have been called on, we've got to deal with the fact that people around this country ought to look at, we have to stop doing this to children.
I totally agree with you. You at least start to think that, you see it certainly in my generation. There's just, people don't see race the same way that they did perhaps in my parents' generations or in our grandparents' generation. There's less and less racism. And so to hear kids utter these things is just shocking and very disturbing. I want to just read you something, of course, that the NAACP president said about where we are now in this country. He said, on the one hand, we see the image of a black man getting off Air Force One. On the other hand, we see photos of kids getting turned away from a swimming pool. We can't be post-racial until we are post-racism, and until we get there, we will be on the watch. What does post-racism mean, post-racial mean?
Post-racism is what I refer to. Until the average black child born in America today faces the same possibility in employment and health care and education across the board as the average white child, then we're not there yet. So we're a whole lot better than we were. There's no question about it. But life is still not equal, as you have quoted the data. Until life is equal, we're not there yet. And I think that's the commitment of this generation of civil rights leaders, to close the gap. Now, we certainly don't have as much gap as those ahead of us did, but to say that the gap is not there, I think, is not to be telling the truth.
All right, Reverend Al Sharpton. Reverend, good to see you on this Sunday morning. Thanks so much.